All right, guys, what's happening? What's happening? Happy Monday to you. It is Monday, February 28th, 2022. This morning, we're going to talk a little bit about leadership. There's a lot going on in the world where leadership is being tested. There are some great examples of what real leadership looks like, and there are some not so great examples of what leadership looks like. And so I thought that would be a great conversation for us to finish off the month of February and carry into the month of March. So we're going to talk a little bit about the situation in Ukraine. We're going to talk about some of the things that are going on in our own country. And I'm going to play you a video from someone who I admire as an incredible leader in this world, somebody who is a former United States military Navy SEAL, and I believe gets it right on a lot of different topics when it comes to this stuff. That's what we're going to talk about this morning. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right, guys, what's happening? Good morning to you and happy Monday. I hope you guys are having an awesome morning already. I certainly am. I wanted to talk about this topic this morning. I wanted to jump into talking about, this whole idea of leadership, the leadership test, because I think it's so important in our world. Leadership is not about what you do when everything is going right. Leadership is really defined by how a person shows up and how a person reacts and how a person leads when everything is wrong, when everything is sideways, when everything is a little off, when everything's scary, when everything is challenging, when your emotions are being tested. How is it that you respond? How is it that you stand up for what's right? How is it that you handle that pressure? And, when you look around the world today and you see the things that are going on from the conflict that's happening in Ukraine to, our own leadership in this country, Vladimir Putin doing what he's doing over in Ukraine and the things that are going on around the world. I want you guys to think about this. I want you to think about what is it that these leaders are doing or not doing? What is it that this whole situation looks like? And how is that different if there were different leadership? If there was different decisions made, how does it impact people's lives? And then I want you to take that and start to apply it to your own life, to your own situation, to business, right? How does it look when everything is hitting the fan, man? You have to be the steady hand. You have to understand how to create win-win situations. You have to understand how to allow people to reverse their mistakes without shame in order for everybody to be able to win. I say this a lot in business when we're trying to structure deals, when we're trying to do things. I always say that the best deal, we're negotiating with a client, we're negotiating with a contractor. The best deal is when everybody feels like they lose a little, right? And so when you look at these things around the world, many times what happens in these scenarios is that egos get the best of people, right? They start to move on something. They don't want to be wrong. And so they continue moving on that, even in the face of something maybe not seeming right, maybe seeming like this could be a really bad idea, but I don't want to back away from it because of the repercussions of what that looks like. And so many times in the world, we're watching these things and scratching our head and we can't figure out why. And it's almost always because of the psychology of how leaders make decisions and they don't want to go back and reverse those decisions. And so in my opinion, Ukraine is one of those decisions. I don't believe that everything that's happening over there is exactly how Russia expected it to be. I think that what is happening there is in a lot of cases a surprise to President Putin. I think that it is unfortunate the way that everything is happening, but I also think that there's a way to be able to resolve this. And hopefully that's what we see for the sake of the Ukrainian people and for the sake of the world. But the real leadership test, and I want you guys, before I play this video for you guys, the real leadership test is how you process things and how you handle things under duress. And so one of my mentors, Ed Milet, mentioned this word a few times in the last few weeks, but it's called equanimity. And it is acting normal under duress. Let's just say that. Being able to act with peace, with grace, all of the things that you would normally have. Being able to do that under duress is a real talent. It's a real skill. It's true leadership. In my opinion, those are the people around the world that, quote unquote, pass the leadership test. When you see leaders that get into situations and they are completely sideways when things get tough, I'm not so sure that those are true leaders. Those are people that are in leadership positions that are not necessarily skilled at the art of leadership. And so I want to play this video for you. This is Jocko Willink, who is a guy that I look up to. I am part of Jocko's program called Echelon Front, and it teaches leadership. Jocko was a Navy SEAL, been to battle. He's got tons of books out there that you can read on leadership. But every time something happens, Jocko puts out one of these videos, and it's recorded as if Jocko were the president of the United States, and he were talking to, speaking of the situation that's going on around the world. And so I'm going to play this video for you guys, and I think you will enjoy it. I think it's about 7 minutes long. So bear with me here, and I'll be back after the video.
President Putin, recently you ordered your troops into Ukraine, which is a sovereign nation, and this was a mistake. You underestimated the capability and the fighting spirit of the brave Ukrainian people. And that's understandable. My country made that same mistake in Vietnam, in Iraq, and in Afghanistan. These mistakes led to drawn-out conflicts that depleted our finances, our materials, and cost us much of our most precious resource of all, American blood. Your country has made that same mistake in the past as well. In Afghanistan, and more recently in Chechnya. Now you have made that same mistake again, but you have also made another mistake. You misjudged the international community, who has universally condemned your actions. You have been cut off financially. Your supply chain has been severed. You are standing alone from a military perspective. You will receive no support. Yet on the contrary, your enemy, the free people of Ukraine, are going to receive an unlimited supply of weapons, ammunition, fuel, food, and troops from nations around the world. This will be a war of attrition against the most well-supported freedom fighters the world has ever seen. And you will lose. That is the reality. But I don't want that. I do not want war. I do not want suffering. And I don't want to see our once great ally, the Russian people, consumed by the devastation of war. So, I am solemnly requesting that you immediately correct this mistake by withdrawing all your troops from Ukraine starting within the next 48 hours. If you do so, I will personally see to it that there are no further ramifications against your country. I will find a way to negotiate a peaceful agreement with Ukraine that addresses your concerns. And finally, I will help rebuild your infrastructure, and I will support actions that will help to rebuild your economy. This is a generous offer to your nation, a nation with a history of great strength, a nation who we once stood side by side with to defeat the evil Third Reich. I hope you accept this request for peace. But if you do not comply, there will be consequences. I have been to war, and I do not like it, but I know how to wage it. 12 hours ago, I gave an order sending 3 aircraft carrier battle groups to the vicinity. I also gave the order for the deployment of 50,000 combat-ready soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines to our NATO allies bordering Ukraine. These include surface-to-air and surface-to-surface missile systems. It includes combat aviation and aviation support teams. And it also includes medical, logistics, infantry, and special operations units. The United States of America will bring the full spectrum of lethal warfare to the battlefield. That being said, we will not get into a ground war with you. America does not need to. The brave Ukrainian men and women will fight for their own country. History tells us of their courage, and they are already proving their mettle in battle once again. But with our technological capabilities and assets, our eminently prepared troops, and our partnerships with allies and the undaunted Ukrainian people on the ground, I promise you, your aircraft will be destroyed. Your missile systems will be destroyed. All of your tanks and armored fighting vehicles will be destroyed. Your naval vessels in proximity of the conflict will be destroyed. And many of your fine soldiers and sailors will be killed. It will be a devastating loss, and your country's military and economy will take years to rebuild. But I don't want that. My generation of Americans have been at war for 2 decades. We don't want war. We want peace. For Russia, for Ukraine, for Europe, and for the world. So please carefully consider my offer. Withdraw your troops. And let's move forward together in a positive way that avoids further war and bloodshed and brings peace and prosperity to the world. The choice is yours. I am standing by for your reply.
So that, friends, is what real leadership looks like. It is laying out the options. It's laying out the facts. It's sticking to what is right, but allowing the others room for movement. But it is being intentional about your message and how it's crafted and the words that you use and all of those things. All of those things are required from a leader. They are required from a person to show up, and especially when things are messy. And so how we show up as leaders, how we show up as people when things get really, really tough, that's what true leadership is. I think those of you who watch the video realize why I have such admiration for Jocko. If you guys aren't following him, certainly go look him up. He's all over social media. Pick up his books. You will not be disappointed. It will teach you a lot. I've read all of them. And that's it, man. When you think about the leadership test, you think about what's going on in the world, and you look at all of the things that all of the leaders that you could be evaluating. People are quick to support those that stand by their people. So the president of Ukraine standing by and fighting with his people, that is admirable. But never just take the message that is given to you. Look into what else is going on in that country. There's a lot that is going on in that country that prior to all of this happening that is not admirable. And so we need to get to the bottom of all of that. Leadership doesn't just take what's on the surface. Leadership digs for the truth on all aspects. And so I'm not discounting what the Ukrainian president is doing. It's admirable to stand by your people and fight. I'm not so sure that all world leaders would do the same. However, it's responsible to look at all of the things that are going on, that were going on in that country prior to. I don't know the facts. I haven't looked into these things. I'm just telling you guys how I think. So I am in the process of reading up and looking into what actually happened in Ukraine prior, because President Zelensky's opponent was actually arrested and tried for treason in 2021. And so that raises a red flag, right? Makes you wonder, when you arrest your political opponents, that's not such a good thing to have on your resume unless it's absolutely undeniably true. When you look at the things that are happening in Russia and the people opposing the war that is being fought, it's a bad situation, not a good situation. When you look at some of the things that are going on in our country and the division and the inability to listen on all fronts, that's not true leadership, guys. It's not true. Leadership is strength. It is holding the line. It is doing everything that Jocko just mentioned in that video. However, it is strength with grace. It's the ability to listen. It's the ability to help people see things that maybe they don't see. It's the ability to allow people to reverse their decisions without shame. True leadership is undeniable when you see it. And the leadership test only happens when things are sideways. Leadership is not, guys, when everything is going right. Leadership, quite frankly, is needed a whole lot less when things are going right. Leadership is needed greatly when things are going wrong. And so I ask you to look at that within your own life this week. How do you show up when things are sideways? How do you react when things get tough? What does it look like? And how could you be better? How could we all be better? So I hope you guys have an awesome week, man. I hope you're off to a great start already this morning. I certainly am. I had a great morning this morning, a great start to the week. Actually, a great start to the week starting last night. Got everything organized. I know exactly what's going on this week, what I've got on my plate. That feels good. But I want you guys to think about, do you pass the leadership test in your own life this week? How do you show up? Are you the steady hand for people when they need it? Do people come to you when things are not right? Or do they go to somebody else because of the way that you react? Think about that. It's an opportunity for all of us to grow into better leaders, into better people, and make the world a better place. That's it for today, guys. I appreciate y'all being here, and I will see you again tomorrow morning, same place, same time, right here on Morning Perspective. Love you guys. Thanks for being here.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that aligns